Hi, and thank you so much for joining me, and welcome to day 6 of 30 Days of Sketches, round 10 from Christie's Beautiful Life. Today's sketch is from Alicia Lawrence, and it's a beautiful sketch. You will have seen it at the beginning, and I've got it there above my page with 2 corners and sunburst coming out from behind 2 large photos. So I've chosen 2 photos of my parents on our recent holiday. This was in fact my mum's 78th birthday, and it was just drizzling with rain. I was sat outside the pool, so they both grabbed their pool towels and covered themselves up. They really are old people now. They really make me chuckle. So I'm using the Heidi Swapp Sun Chaser collection for these photos, and this one from the 6x8 pad that I'm using to map the photos with works perfectly because my dad's got a pink shirt on, and then you've got the blues of the sign behind my mum, so the gradient from pink to blue works really nicely with that. So just matted my photos onto white cardstock, and then they're going to go down onto that paper mat behind. And now I'm just looking for some pieces to add the strips above and below the photo mat. So I start with this green star one, and then that black script that you can see poking out is the other one that I use. So just trimming off the top and then cutting those 2 pieces in half so that I can use those top and bottom. And these colours work really nicely with the photos. There's a lot of green foliage behind mum and dad, and so the blacks from the shadows and the green works really nicely. So I'll edge distress all of those pieces, the photo mat, the photos and the strips, but I won't bore you watching those. So there they are, all distressed now, and the photos have been stuck down onto that mat. So now it's just a case of gluing down these strips onto the photo mat. I want to be able to add some mixed media behind per usual, so I'm adding this all as one big block that can remove to add the mixed media. So just gluing down the final strips here, and then we can get on. So to create the sunburst effect, top right and bottom left, I'm going to use this stencil from Bramble Fox. They're a company in the UK here. But first of all, I need to just draw around my photo mat to check that I am repositioning it in the correct place once I've removed it, and it also gives me an indication of where the mixed media should go. So just removing that, checking there's no paper dust on there. I missed a bit. And then I shall go in with this stencil. And I'm using my Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks as per usual. And this one is the Fossilised Amber, which works beautifully with Heidi Swapp Sun Chaser and really adds a nice contrast to the white of the paper. So just small sunbursts, top right, bottom left, as the sketch indicates. And then I'm going to add some mixed media top and bottom of the actual photo mat as well. And this is one of the puffy words from the puffy word stickers, and it just says relax, because it was a very relaxed holiday. It was lovely after 2 years of having to postpone because of COVID. So here I'm just going to start building up those corner pieces. I'm going to use strips rather than solid blocks of colour. So I've just gone through my scraps and I found this beautiful green, but obviously they're not square yet, well, triangles, so I'm just trimming those down so that the sides are equal sizes, and then I shall cut it into a proper triangle. So just fiddling about with that, and then I'll use my scissors to square that off. So there you go. One for the top, one for the bottom, and I shall keep going with all my strips to do this, just going through the scraps that I've got in my book and finding colours that will match. I don't really want to cut into new sheets, just to create a few corner pieces here. So now I've got a few strips to play with. I'm going to start edge distressing and sticking them down. So just distressing each piece as I go and gluing it down in place. And I'm just gluing down the middle of the strip so that I can add a bit of dimension by curling up the edges. I didn't want it flat to the page. It will flatten out a bit in the album, I'm not too worried about that. But just adding a little bit of dimension by curling the papers helps. Having a fiddle, and I'm taking them off the page and then I shall trim them afterwards because I want them to go edge to edge. So now turning over the layout to trim the edges off, I find that much easier than trying to do it from the same side. Having a little clear up, and then I'm going to come back in with the photo mat just to check that I'm happy with everything and the positioning of those sunbursts and also those corners. And look at what a difference those corners make to the layout. I'm really happy with that. So now coming in with my washi tape, just wanted to bring in a little bit of black and white to the top there without it being too harsh. So this is just a very old roll that I've got in my stash, and it works really nicely with this Sun Chaser collection. So just adding a strip top and bottom, and I'll take the edges over the page just to give a neat finish, and then they won't lift up on the front. And now, as I mentioned before, I'm going to go in with a bit of mixed media at the top and bottom of the layout. So just grabbing my bundled sage, Distress Oxide, and then I shall just go in with that with some water and a brush just to add a tiny bit of dimension to the top and bottom. It just looked a little bit too white and clean for me, so I just wanted to add something. Just checking that all the areas that I want to be covered are covered. And then blotting up the excess. And when I blotted it up, it made it really quite ashy grey. So just going in with a little bit more, just to bring that colour back in again. And I shall have to be patient and allow that to dry. So carefully putting the photo mat back on and then I can start embellishing. So just having another look at the sketch to see how close I am to it today. I don't think I've done too badly today. I always use sketches as inspiration. Sometimes I stick pretty close to them, and sometimes I just use them as a starting point and then go off on my own little journey. But I think I've done quite well today. So gluing this photo mat down before I carry on embellishing. And I don't want to do too much embellishing because I want the photos to tell the story. I shall do a bit of journaling in the bottom right hand corner per the sketch. I'm just bringing my T ruler in to check that everything's straight there, and then I can add the title. And I want this to go over the photos, which is why I didn't use any foam on this layout. I'm keeping it fairly flat so that the title can overlap the photos and not look too odd. Of course, because there are a few layers of paper, it does bend a little bit as it moves towards the white card, but that's fine. Again, just checking it straight. It's pretty hard to check things are straight with a Scripty font, but normally you can find a couple of focal points to check that with. I'm now going through the sticker book just to see if there's anything that I can use. And I just find one little word strip that says the story, and that'll go bottom right hand corner, and that works nicely because that's where I'm going to have my journaling. So, because it does look a bit odd, a picture of my parents with towels around them. So just adding the journaling there, and I've just put a shower of rain suddenly appeared when we were sitting by the pool. That wasn't about to spoil our fun. And now going through the ephemera pack, and I find these frames, and I just think these photos are perfect for framing Mum and Dad, just to make them the focal point of the layout. So I start off with a pink one around Mum, but realise that actually that works better around my dad, and that one around Mum. So just working out the positioning before I stick them down, and I shall mount them onto foam just to make them stand proud of the photos, so that you really look at what's inside them and they don't just blend into the actual photo themselves. And I love the way that really finished the layout off. So just checking again with the positioning before I take the foam backing off, and then I can glue those down. This foam on a roll is absolutely fantastic. It's from my shop, Hey Little Magpie, and it's lasted me forever. It's a great width, it's 6mm, so it fits around most things without having to trim it down. So now just going in with the obligatory label for the date, either a label or a tag every time, and then just checking if any of the other ephemera works for me. So adding the date to that label using my stamp pad. While I'm doing that, I just want to remind you to check the description box down below. There's a playlist of everybody joining in this hop, some fabulous creatives joining in, and it's wonderful to watch their videos as well. And if you like what you see, I would love it if you give me a like and a subscribe. I hate asking that, but it really does help me. I love seeing people joining, and I love having comments from you all. So just a few more puffy stickers, and then that's the layout done. Thank you so much again, and I shall see you tomorrow for the next sketch. I'll leave you with some close-ups. Thanks again. Bye.